Are those rat droppings or are they mouse droppings? Today, we're gonna jump in and show you how to identify the difference between rat droppings, mouse droppings, how to tell if they're old, and how to tell if they're fresh. And at the end, we'll show you exactly what to do. So you found some droppings. What does this mean? Well, when mice or rat droppings are found, usually that's a sign that there's an infestation or an infestation starting. So it's important to locate where they are, if there's a food source, and if there's a nesting area, because you want to eliminate the infestation or prevent the infestation before it gets bad. So let's start off by talking about mouse droppings. They're the most common and they look exactly like this. This is an actual mouse dropping. You can see they're very small, almost exactly the same size as a grain of rice, but they are blackish gray in color. Often they're found in clusters because in a single day, a mouse can lay 20 to 30 droppings. They will lay their droppings while they're feeding, and as they're moving around, they also use it as a way to communicate. The most common areas that you'll find these droppings are spots where there's a food source, like pantries, areas along the perimeter, because when they're traveling, they feel very comfortable moving along a perimeter for safety, and other spots can be where they're nesting. So if you see these little guys, you know that it's mice. Think of it as black grains of rice. Let's talk about rat droppings now. You can see that rat droppings are significantly larger. Rat droppings are roughly 3/4 of an inch long, and one end is almost always blunted, if not both, and then sometimes one will taper off. They're substantially larger and often they're harder to find. Mice scatter their droppings and have multiple droppings as they move around, whereas rats often will go to the washroom in the same spot. One of the reasons that they do this is they hide their droppings so that predators can't see this and know that they're there. They're extremely smart. So again, this is a rat dropping and this is a mouse dropping. Once you see the difference, it's unmistakable. So once you find droppings, the next question people ask is, are these fresh or are they old? And there is a fairly easy way to tell. First is if you're daring enough, you can get the dropping, and if you smush it and it's soft, that is fresh. Over time, both rat and mouse droppings start to dehydrate and become very hard. Sometimes they'll even discolor and turn more of a gray color than a dark black color. As you can see here, this is an example of an older rat dropping. It's quite dehydrated and it's even starting to become a more light brown to grayish color. When they're fresh, they're very dark and black. So now let's talk about the common spots where you will find mouse droppings versus rat droppings, because understanding their patterns really helps you identify even further. Mice, you get random piles and they can be scattered throughout. They can be on top of a counter in the middle, you'll have a pile of multiple, you may have them along a perimeter, and they're all over the place. Mice are very curious and they're not that worried about having their droppings out in the open. Rats, on the other hand, because they have such high intelligence, always try to keep their droppings in a consistent area where they feel that it's safe. Areas where you'll see these will be actually behind walls in where they're nesting, behind tight little corners like behind a hot water heater in a wall where they feel like they're safe, or close to burrows that they're using consistently because it's a pattern where they're going and they haven't seen predators. So if you're finding large ones in discrete areas, usually that's rats. If you're finding smaller ones scattered all over, that's almost always mice. The last point we want to touch on is rodenticide. When mice and rats feed off rodenticide, as it works their way through their system, it generally will discolor their droppings. So we have here an example of a rat dropping that has fed off rodenticide. You can see here that it's green. There's a few reasons that this is important. One is if you find ones that have discoloration from a rodenticide, you know that they're feeding off of bait and it may already be eliminated. The second key piece is if you found droppings and now you're using bait or rodenticide to treat them, you know that they're taking to it and they're feeding off of it. So finding these droppings with the discoloration is always a good sign because it means they're taking to the bait that you're using. So now that you found these droppings, what do you do? Well, let's talk about proper disposal. Once you find the droppings, you want to make sure you remove them, and then you use a strong cleaning product like bleach to sanitize that area and eliminate any of the harmful bacteria that these rodents carry. Second thing that you want to do, of course, is get a proper monitoring or pest control program in place to eliminate the infestation. And usually that would be using traps or rodenticide to eliminate them, and then sealing off any entry points and eliminating food sources that they're using. Thanks for watching the video. If you have any questions or any experiences, please put them in the comments below. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch these videos. We love to help people out and give away free information to help you with your pest issues. Anything that comes up, please reach out.